Welcome to the Growth and Success Mindset Podcast, where we unlock your potential and ignite your journey to extraordinary achievements. Get ready to elevate your thinking, cultivate resilience, and embrace a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's rise above limitations and create a life you love.
Welcome to our deep dive today. It's going to be into the world of Sam Altman and his perspective on AI, the future of AI.
Okay.
We've got some really fascinating material to kind of dig into.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from a conversation that he had at Harvard,
Right.
along with some headlines that really caught our eye, some pretty interesting and provocative headlines.
Yeah, I think what's really striking is that, even as a teenager, Altman was drawn to fields with massive impact,
Yeah.
like AI, and even when they were kind of considered fringe or risky,
Yeah.
he was already thinking about expected value,
Uh-huh.
weighing the potential impact against the odds of success. Pretty remarkable for a high schooler.
Right. Yeah. Like he innately knew where technology was headed even back then.
Yeah.
And that focus on impact, that really runs through his whole career,
Yes.
from his early startup days to his current role at OpenAI.
Absolutely.
But I'm curious about this. What do you make of his decision to leave Stanford to start Looped? Oh, yeah.
I mean, it seems like a pretty bold move for someone so early in their academic journey.
Right. It definitely speaks to his entrepreneurial spirit and willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is how that experience really shaped his approach to problem solving.
Okay.
There's that story about how he secured a crucial carrier deal for Looped by, relentlessly pursuing every possible avenue.
Right.
He wasn't just handed success. He had to hustle for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that tenacity, it clearly carried over to OpenAI.
For sure.
Imagine they started as a pure research lab.
Right.
No product, no revenue strategy.
Right.
It was all about exploring AI, which is still really unproven back then.
Absolutely.
Do you think that lack of a defined path
Yeah.
actually contributed to their success?
I think it allowed them the freedom to kind of experiment and iterate without the pressure of immediate commercialization.
Okay.
So they were able to delve into areas like video games and robotics.
Which may have seemed tangential at the time, but ultimately informed their later work on language models. And speaking of language models, their discovery of the scaling loss phenomenon was a real turning point.
Okay.
They basically found that the performance of deep learning models improves predictably as you increase the amount of data and computing power you feed them.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't deep learning experts,
Sure.
Can you unpack that a bit?
Yep.
What's the significance of this scaling loss thing? And how did it change OpenAI's strategy?
So it's pretty profound. Before this discovery, the prevailing wisdom was that you needed to come up with clever new algorithms
Right.
to improve AI performance.
Uh-huh.
But OpenAI found that to a large extent, simply scaling up, giving the models more data, more compute, yielded really significant improvements.
Okay.
It's kind of like discovering a fundamental law of physics
Oh, wow.
that governs how AI learns.
Interesting. So it shifted their focus from algorithm design to building bigger, more powerful models.
Right.
It almost sounds too simple.
It's certainly not easy,
Mm-hmm.
but it is a more straightforward approach than constantly trying to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
And it's what led them to develop the GPT series of language models, culminating in the groundbreaking GPT-3.
Yeah.
What's remarkable is that Altman was already convinced of the power of language models, even when many others were skeptical.
Yeah.
He saw their potential to revolutionize everything,
Mm-hmm.
from writing and translation to coding and scientific discovery.
He was betting on the future, even when that future was still blurry to most people.
Totally. Yeah.
That takes vision and conviction
for sure.
and a willingness to be wrong.
Yeah, and a willingness to be wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not every bet pays off,
Right.
but this one did.
It seems like it did.
The impact of GPT-3 and subsequent language models has been undeniable,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but it's also raised some serious ethical and societal questions.
I-
That's a great segue into the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
AI, as powerful as this,
Right.
has the potential to reshape the world in both positive and negative ways.
For sure.
So let's explore Altman's thoughts on those implications,
Okay.
starting with his evolving vision of artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Yeah, so he initially envisioned AGI as a centralized superintelligence.
Uh-huh.
A single entity capable of surpassing human intelligence in all aspects.
Okay.
But he's since shifted to a more distributed and collaborative model.
Can you explain the distinction between those two models?
Sure.
And what prompted Altman to change his thinking?
So in the centralized model, all the intelligence is concentrated in like one super AI.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit like the classic sci-fi scenario of a single computer controlling everything.
Right.
The distributive model, on the other hand, envisions a more decentralized network of interconnected AI systems,
Okay.
each with its own strengths and limitations, working together with humans to solve complex problems.
So it's less about a single, all-powerful AI,
Right.
and more about AI being woven into the fabric of society,
Yeah.
augmenting our capabilities rather than replacing us.
Exactly. And Altman's shift in thinking reflects a growing understanding of both the technical challenges and the potential risks of centralized superintelligence.
Okay.
He seemed to have recognized that a more distributed approach might be safer, more resilient,
Right.
and ultimately more beneficial for humanity.
It's a fascinating concept, but even with this distributed model,
Right.
there are still a lot of concerns about how AI will impact society.
For sure.
How does Altman address those concerns?
Yeah.
And what does he see as the biggest challenges ahead?
Well, he doesn't shy away from those tough questions.
Okay.
One of his biggest concerns is the potential for AI to be misused,
Yeah.
either intentionally or unintentionally.
Uh-huh.
He talks about the need to carefully consider the values we embed in these systems
Right.
and the potential for unintended consequences.
Yeah.
He uses the example of ChatGPT,
Oh.
and he asks some pointed questions.
Okay.
Should it be allowed to give legal advice, even if it's not a lawyer?
Right.
Welcome to Visionversity, the new digital world for growth, learning, and help in business and life. Unlock your potential with Visionversity. Dive into powerful podcasts and book summaries from billionaire, millionaire, and greatest people that transform your money, business, and growth mindset. Ready to enhance your life and shape the future? Join the global movement now at visionversity.in, where your success begins.
What about generating content that could be used to spread misinformation or hate speech?
Right.
These are thorny issues with no easy answers.
It's like we're giving incredibly powerful tools
Yeah.
to a system that doesn't yet fully understand
Right.
the nuances of human ethics and values.
Right.
So how does Altman propose we navigate these ethical minefields?
So he believes in a balanced approach.
Okay.
He argues that users should have a significant degree of control over AI behavior,
Mm-hmm.
but within broad, societally negotiated boundaries.
Okay.
It's like setting up guardrails
Okay.
to guide the development and use of AI while still allowing for innovation and experimentation.
So it's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between freedom and responsibility,
Yeah.
empowering users while also protecting against potential harm.
Absolutely.
But who gets to define those boundaries?
Right. That's the tough question.
And how do we ensure that everyone's voice is heard in that process?
Yeah, that's where things get even more complex.
Right?
Altman envisions a future where we collectively negotiate the rules of the road for AI. He talks about the need for a global conversation involving ethicists,
Yeah.
policymakers, researchers, and everyday citizens
Wow.
to establish clear guidelines for AI development and use.
It sounds like a massive undertaking.
It is.
But given the potential stakes, it also seems absolutely necessary.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, we can't afford to just let the tech industry dictate the terms. We need a more inclusive and democratic approach
Right.
to ensure that AI aligns with our shared values and serves the common good.
I'm curious about Altman's views on regulation.
Yeah.
Does he see a role for government in shaping the future of AI?
Yeah.
Some people argue that too much regulation could stifle innovation,
Right.
while others believe it's essential to mitigate the risks.
Right. So Altman acknowledges that regulation will be necessary, especially as AI becomes more powerful and pervasive.
Right.
But he also cautions against overly restrictive measures that could hinder progress.
Okay.
He seems to favor a more iterative approach,
Yeah.
where regulations evolve alongside the technology itself.
So a kind of ongoing dialogue
Yeah.
between policymakers and the AI community
Exactly.
to ensure that regulations are both effective and flexible.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance between fostering innovation and safeguarding against potential harm. And it requires a deep understanding of both the technical capabilities and the societal implications of AI.
Speaking of societal implications,
Right.
one of the biggest concerns people have is the potential for AI to displace workers
Huh.
and exacerbate existing inequalities.
Right.
How does Altman address those concerns?
So he doesn't sugarcoat the fact that AI will inevitably disrupt the job market,
Right.
but he also believes that it has the potential to create new opportunities
Okay.
and improve overall living standards. He talks about the need to invest in education and retraining programs
Okay.
to equip workers with the skills they need to thrive in an AI-powered economy.
Okay.
He also emphasizes the importance of addressing issues like algorithmic bias
Yeah.
to ensure that AI benefits all of society, not just a privileged few.
So it's not just about mitigating the negative impacts,
Right.
but also about harnessing the power of AI to create a more just and equitable world.
Exactly.
That's a really optimistic vision.
It is.
But I wonder, is he being overly idealistic? Is it really possible to steer a technology as powerful as AI in such a positive direction?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And there are certainly valid reasons to be skeptical.
Yeah.
But I think Altman's perspective is valuable because it challenges us to think beyond the hype and the fear.
Right.
And consider the full spectrum of possibilities that AI presents.
Yeah.
He's not saying it'll be easy, but he's arguing that we have a moral imperative to try.
You mentioned hype and fear. And speaking of that, let's turn our attention to some of those attention-grabbing headlines
Sure, yeah.
we teased at the beginning.
Right.
Things like, AI will destroy humanity, or I regret creating ChatGPT.
Yeah.
What do you make of those pronouncements?
Right.
Are they legitimate concerns or just clickbait designed to provoke a reaction?
I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
It's natural for people to have anxieties about a technology as powerful and transformative as AI.
Right.
And some of those concerns are definitely valid.
Uh-huh.
But it's also important to remember that these headlines are often crafted to grab attention and generate clicks.
Right.
They don't always reflect a nuanced understanding of the technology or its potential impact.
It's interesting that you bring up nuance, because one thing that really struck me about Altman is his emphasis on long-term thinking.
Yeah.
He's not just focused on the immediate applications of AI, but also on its potential impact on humanity decades or even centuries from now.
That's right. He talks about the need for a moral imperative to guide AI development, to ensure that it aligns with our deepest values and aspirations.
Yeah.
It's a perspective that you don't often hear from tech leaders, who are typically focused on quarterly earnings and shareholder value.
So how do we translate that long-term vision into concrete actions?
Yeah.
What steps can we take today to ensure that AI benefits all of humanity in the years to come?
Well, Altman argues that we need to start by addressing the fundamental building blocks of AI, compute and energy.
Yeah.
He believes that the cost of intelligence will eventually approach the cost of energy, highlighting the critical role that energy plays in advancing AI capabilities.
And he even goes so far as to advocate for a UBI for compute,
Right.
essentially arguing that access to computing power should be considered a fundamental human right.
Right.
Can you unpack that a bit for us?
Yeah.
What exactly does he mean by UBI for compute, and how would it work in practice?
It's a really radical idea, but it makes you think about how essential computing power is becoming in the age of AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it something like electricity or the internet? A utility that everyone needs access to
Right.
fully participate in society.
That seems to be Altman's line of thinking. He envisions a world where anyone, regardless of their background, has access to the computing resources
Right.
to leverage AI
Yeah.
for education, healthcare, economic opportunities, creative expression. It's a bold vision that challenges our traditional notions of social welfare.
Yeah, it's almost like saying that in the 21st century, computing power is as fundamental as food or shelter.
Right.
And that raises all sorts of questions about how we ensure equitable access
Absolutely.
to these resources and how we prevent them from being concentrated in the hands of a powerful few.
Those are exactly the kind of questions we need to be grappling with right now. Because as AI becomes more intertwined with every aspect of our lives, these issues will become even more critical. And it's not just about policymakers and tech leaders. We all have a role to play in shaping this future.
So what can we do as individuals? Should we all be rushing out to invest in energy startups or learning to code?
Those are certainly options for those who are so inclined. But I think the most important thing is to stay informed.
Yeah.
Engage in these discussions about the ethical and societal implications.
Right.
And demand that our policymakers prioritize responsible AI development.
So it's about being informed citizens,
Yes.
making our voices heard,
Absolutely.
and holding our leaders accountable
Yes.
for creating a future where AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that requires us to move beyond the simplistic narratives of AI as either a utopian savior or a dystopian threat.
Yep.
We need to engage with the complexity, acknowledge the risks, but also embrace the potential for good.
Right. It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between caution and optimism,
Uh-huh.
between acknowledging the potential pitfalls and actively working to shape a future where AI serves humanity's best interests. It's challenging, but ultimately hopeful.
It is, and it's a perspective that resonates with Altman's own journey. He's been willing to take risks, to challenge conventional wisdom, and to push the boundaries of what's possible, but he's also deeply aware of the potential consequences and committed to building a future where AI is used responsibly and ethically.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Sam Altman and OpenAI, I think we're left with a sense of both the incredible potential and the profound responsibility that comes with developing this technology. We are on the cusp of something truly transformative, but it's up to us to ensure that this transformation leads to a better future for all. What are your final thoughts on that before we sign off?
I think Altman offers a valuable roadmap for navigating this uncharted territory. He emphasizes the importance of long-term thinking, of considering the broader societal implications, of engaging in open and honest dialogue, and of fostering a spirit of collaboration between technologists, policymakers, and the public. It won't be easy. There will be disagreements and setbacks along the way. But I believe that if we approach this challenge with the same sense of purpose and determination that has characterized Altman's own journey, we can create a future where AI empowers humanity and helps us solve some of the world's most pressing problems.
It's an inspiring vision and one that gives us hope for the future. And to our listeners, we leave you with this final thought. The age of AI is upon us. What role will you play in shaping its trajectory?
So it's like a universal basic income,
Yeah.
but for computing power.
Okay.
Instead of giving everyone a guaranteed amount of money, you're giving everyone a guaranteed amount of access to servers and algorithms and data sets.
So anyone could essentially build their own AI applications,
Exactly.
train their own models. Wow.
It could really democratize the field of AI.
Yeah, but how do we even begin to implement something like that?
It's a huge logistical challenge,
All right.
but I think it starts with recognizing that access to computing power is becoming increasingly essential.
Yeah, like a basic utility.
Exactly.
But then there are issues of infrastructure.
Right. We need to build out massive data centers and make sure they're distributed fairly.
And ensure that everyone has the necessary skills to use these resources effectively.
Absolutely. Education and training are key.
It's a really complex problem.
It is, but it's one that we need to start addressing now.
Before the gap between the AI haves and have-nots widens even further.
Exactly. It's about creating a future where AI benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from Altman's early fascination with AI to his vision for a future where computing power is a fundamental human right.
Right.
It's clear that we're living in a time of unprecedented technological change. And the decisions we make today will have a profound impact on the world of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So to our listeners, we urge you to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking those tough questions about the future of AI.
It's a conversation that we all need to be a part of.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.